All right, what's up, everyone? Good morning. I hope everyone's had a great week so far, and I hope everyone is having a good weekend. I know here in New York, the weather is beautiful, especially for this time of the year. So everybody's outside right now. So if you are in a place that's been kind of cold lately and the weather is great for you, try to take advantage of it. All right. This weekend we have a couple boxing cards. We have a card on the Zone. We got a card on Showtime. And unfortunately, I won't be able to go live later on today to do commentary for these cards. All right. I won't be able to go back to doing commentaries until probably next Saturday and a few Saturdays after that. All right. So we're gonna go over. I'll do a couple of quick predictions. I did do my breakdown for Bivol and Gilberto Ramirez. That's already out. So if you haven't seen that yet, please check that out. I did a full breakdown for that fight. Also on the undercard, which I will be speaking on today, we got Jessica Mccaskill against uh what's her name? Cameron. All right, that fight is gonna be Chantel Cameron. That fight is gonna be on the undercard of Zurdo and Bivol. All right. It's early, guys. I'm sorry. Bear with me. I'm like still, I just got out of bed. I have to run out soon. So I just got out of bed and just drew this live on real quick. Also, on the Showtime card, you have a lot of fighters on that card. All right. You have David Morrell Jr. All right. The undefeated prospect, young prospect, Cuban fighter. He's going to be fighting Aidos Yabosanuli. All right. I had to practice his name right before I went live. All right. So I didn't want to like completely butcher it, but he's an undefeated Kazakh fighter. And I was able to check him out like the last couple of days to see if he, what he really brought to the table. In fact, let me bring him up real quick. And I'm probably going to go right into that fight. All right, but we're going to talk about a few topics, some news that came up this week that I just never got around to. All right. So Idos, I'm gonna just call him Idos. All right, Idos and and Morrell Jr. have one common opponent against Lennox Allen, and I was able to check out their fights the other day. All right, and they both beat Lennox Allen. I mean, they're both undefeated, but Lennox Allen is like a southpaw fighter that went the distance, went to 12 rounds with David Morrell Jr. In fact, I think that's the only fight that he's gone. That's the only 12th rounder that he's gone a distance with. Okay. Oh, the only fighter he hasn't knocked out because he's undefeated. All right. So, everyone that's joining us, Clarence, what's up with you? Mad Max, what's happening? Sio Abel, what's up? El Chivo, Les, J Man, what's happening? Yeah, so David Morrell Jr. is 7-0 with 6 knockouts, and the only fighter that he didn't knock out is Lennox Allen, who was actually knocked out by Aidos Yobosanuli. All right, so I was able to go back and watch, both fights. I remember seeing the Morrell fight live. All right, I never heard of Aidos before this fight, but he is undefeated. He is a puncher. He has 16 wins, 11 knockouts, um, and he looks like a solid fighter. He looks like, I mean, to me, he's probably the best fighter that David Morrell Jr. fought up to this point. You can make an argument that he's the best. I know David Morrell went in there with Atlantis Fox and stopped him, but Atlantis Fox has lost pretty much every fight he stepped up in. He lost to Demetrius Andrade. He got dominated. He got destroyed by Liam Williams. All right. And then he lost to David Morrell as well. So it was no surprise there. All right. But I like David Morrell. I think he's good. I think people are excited about him because he's young and he's getting a lot of knockouts like a lot of other prospects. I think he's very good. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but the David Benavidez call outs, I think is a little too soon for that. He looks good. He's a solid boxer. He's very explosive. He has power. But I want to see him develop a little bit more. You know, like I said, the Allen fight that they both had, he didn't look bad, but he didn't look great neither. And if you're gonna go 12 rounds with fighters, I want to see how good you could box. And I think he can box good, but I still want to see more development with him. Before we start putting him up there with the top tier super middleweights. All right. But I like him. I think he's gonna pull off this win, but I don't know if it's gonna be about knockout. I think the longer the fight goes, the more difficult it will be for David Morrell. All right, because Aidos can box and he has decent, solid power. I don't think he's the athlete that David Morrell is. I don't think he might not even have the power that David Morrell has. He definitely just doesn't have the explosiveness as him. But he's a decent boxer. All right. And I think it should be a good fight, and I'm expecting it to go the distance. I think if David Morrell is able to stop him, it'll be early in the fight, like within the first few 2 or 3 rounds. Okay. I think if he comes out like he had in previous fights and just was so explosive and dominant and just overwhelmed Idols, I think he can win early. I think that's the way it goes. If he is to win by knockout, I think it's going to be early. But if the fight, goes the distance a little bit, like maybe 5, 6 rounds, I think the longer the fight goes, I think the more likely it's going to go to a decision. I think Burrell is can't sleep on this guy. I am picking him to win, but I do consider this to be a step up for him. All right, so I like the fight. I see a comment, Les. Les says they should let Morrell beat up Berlanga. And I do think that Morrell for now looks to be a little bit better than Berlanga. But you couldn't say that. Honestly, if Berlanga was still on his undefeated, run, right? That 16 in first round knockout thing that he had going. If it was in the middle of that, I think you can make an argument who would be the better fighter going into the fight. But I think now that we've seen Berlanga box a little bit and we've seen him go the distance and we've seen him vulnerable, we've seen him get dropped, we've seen him against better fighters, it looks like Morrell would destroy him right now. But again, I still want to see what happens when Morrell steps up. You never know. This might be the fight where Morrell doesn't look so good. This might be the first fight where you might say, he's been overrated. Because that's exactly what happens when a prospect is just running through people and then they finally meet someone that is giving them a good fight. And then you're like, oh, now he's forced to actually have to box. What if he's forced to fight on his back foot? And then we see that he doesn't look as good. This might be that fight right here. It might not be. He might destroy this dude. He might absolutely just wipe the floor with this dude and knock him out in like a few rounds. I do think he's getting better with each fight. And even though he didn't stop that one common opponent that they have, that he's improving still with every fight. I mean, he only has 7 pro fights, What's up, Leonard? And thank you for the super chat. Leonard says, morning, have a coffee on me. Just finished watching Australian card on YouTube, ready for the Abu Dhabi card today. Interested in most of the fights on the card. Yeah, it has a solid undercard. We're definitely going to talk about Mccaskill and Cameron next. All right. But yeah, I mean, I won't be doing live commentary today, unfortunately, with you guys. Unfortunately, I won't do it. I'm not going to be home. I'm actually going to be leaving in a little bit. I'll be gone for the rest of the day. But I'll be, I'll have my review up as soon as I get home. All right. But I'm looking forward to fights today. Some good fights. Yeah, the Showtime card has a lot of people. Let me just pull it up real quick. The Showtime card has a lot of people that we haven't really seen, former champions and stuff. You got Jason Rosario is going to be making his, I think it's like his middleweight debut probably tonight on that card. You got Nate Gallimore that's going to be on the undercard. You got Andre Durrell, right, the brother of Anthony Durrell, who just lost to Caleb Plant. Was one of my favorite fighters at super middleweight once upon a time. I remember him. I was a big fan of him and Andre Ward. He had a lot of ups and downs in his pro career. Oh, excuse me. But he's going to be coming back to fight Eubank Gonzalez, and that's a dangerous fight because, Gonzalez really, really brings a fight straight to you. If Durrell is able to box and go, weather the early storm by Gonzalez, and box later, maybe he can get a win. This is a 10-rounder, but Eubank Gonzalez don't play around. He's never been an easy fight for anyone. Even with his losses, he stopped by Gilberto Ramirez last year, and he was also stopped by Volzdik. All right, Alexander Volzdik in 3. But he's a tough fighter. He's a very tough fighter. He had a great fight with John Pascal. He had a tough fight with Shabransky. I remember watching that one. So he's a guy that can be stopped, can be outboxed, but you never know. All right, I don't know what Andre Durrell is doing. He's not active like that, but he's not officially retired. All right, he lost to Jose Uzcategui back in 2018. He picked up a couple wins. He had a fight in 2019, almost a year and a half later, almost 2 years later. And then he had one in 2021 again. So he's only fighting like once every other year. And he's got to be up there in age now. I don't see his age up here, but he's got to be up there in his later 30s at this point. He's definitely past his prime. I think his real last great fight was against James DeGale. All right, but he'll be on the undercard tonight. All right, so he's going to be there. Who else do you have here on this undercard? Let me see real quick before we move forward. Then you got Julian J. Rock Williams, who's also going to be coming back. All right, and he's going to be on the undercard against a journeyman here. And I'm glad to see. I was just thinking about him the other day because we seen him lose that Vladimir Hernandez fight. And I believe he might be fighting at 160. I did read somewhere that he was thinking about fighting at 160. So this might be a 160 fight. So he's gonna be back, man. I hope he's sharp. I just think he's so talented, man. I just want to really see him back on top of the game. I was speaking with a friend about him and Jared Hurd the other day. Jared Hurd, losing to J-Rock and losing his father. And I personally think that Lara fight, even though he won, I think that fight really took a lot out of him. Good fighters that had a good run that just kind of like fell back. And I want to see them come back. All right. But yeah, this is a good fight. I'm looking forward to this fight, this card tonight. All right, as well as the zone card. What are you guys reading? Let me see what you guys are saying. Yeah, Uzcategui. Yeah, I'm going to speak on Uzcategui in a minute against David Benjamin, that fight being canceled. I'll speak on that in a minute. Just give me a minute. Eddie Morales says, don't sleep on that Morrell, your Bosanuli fight. And that's what I'm saying. I think this might be Morrell's toughest fight. And this might be the fight where people say, yo, Morrell is that dude or Morrell is overrated. That could be one of this fight. This could be that fight. So that's why I said, let's just be patient. Let's see how these fighters look. He looks very good. He looks promising, but he looks like he has great potential. But let's wait and see before we get into the Benavidez talk, or the Canelo talk, or whoever else is at top at 168. I don't think it's going to take him many fights before he gets to a championship. All right. But at the same time, I don't want to overrate him. I want to see how good he boxes. He's only gone to 12 once. And, I remember watching that fight, and I didn't think he was so hot in that fight. All right. Against Allen. All right. Yeah, he did lose to Luis Arias. Yeah, you're talking about Jared Hurd. Yep, I remember. Yeah. What's up, Maker? What's up with you? Shout out to Hawaii. All right, so yeah, Darrell is a great switch hitter, right? All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about the undisputed fight that we're getting today that I don't feel like enough people are talking about. I was supposed to do a breakdown yesterday, but I didn't get around to it. So I'm gonna do a quick prediction video for quick prediction right now for Jessica Mccaskill and Chantel Cameron. All right, this is gonna be an undisputed fight down at junior welterweight. Jessica Mccaskill is going to be coming down for welterweight. And, she was actually the current, I believe she was undisputed up at welterweight. All right. Yeah. She was undisputed up at welterweight. She's coming down to fight the unified champion, Cameron. And this is going to be an undisputed fight. All right. A couple of vacant titles are going to be on the line for this one. All right. And, this is a 50-50 fight. This is a super 50-50 fight. Please, if you are watching that the Zone Card, please check this fight out. This should be a good fight, a good style matchup clash. You have the very, very aggressive Jessica Mccaskill, probably the most aggressive fighter in female sports. Very, very aggressive. I've seen comments of people compare her to like the female Sean Porter. She is very front foot heavy, comes forward, throws big shots, all right, and likes to brawl it out. Okay. Against Chantel Cameron, that's more the boxer, okay, likes to control the distance, likes to move, use a lot of moving, and she's the boxer between the two. Okay. Likes to steps in and throws. She does step in and throw flurries, and she likes to ambush you at times. But for the most part, she's the boxer between the two. I think we're gonna see some good exchanges between the two. But it should be a very good fight. I think this fight really goes either way. It really, really goes either way. It really depends on what approach that Cameron is going to take in this fight. It really depends on that. Because Mccaskill, we already know what she's going to do. She's going to come forward. She's going to be throwing combinations. She's going to look to slug it out. All right. And she usually overwhelms most of her opponents. She's stopped the last two opponents she's had. And, she's fought the better competition. As far as experience, she has it. She doesn't have as many fights. All right. She has like something like 14 professional fights. Let me look real quick. Let me pull it up real quick. She has something like 14 professional fights. All right. 12 wins, 5 knockouts, 2 losses. All right. But she's fought, Katie Taylor, and gave Katie Taylor a very tough fight. I think the fight was a lot closer than the scorecards read. Also, she's fought Cecilia Breakers twice. All right. Tough fights against Cecilia Breakers, who was undefeated at the time and a pound for pound fighter at the time. And she took the wins twice. All right. What I see in Cameron that she can do that Cecilia wasn't able to do is she can move better. I think if she stays on her toes, have that bounce and it moves, not always in a straight line. She takes those step backs from time to time. Yes. And set up traps and counters for when Mccaskill rushes in, set her up, take those quick step backs and counter and catch her walking in. I think that would get, allow for some good openings and some good shots. But she can't always step back in a straight line. She's going to have to move laterally and step around Mccaskill, who's going to be always marching in aggressively. Jessica Mccaskill is 38 years old now. So she's getting up there in age, and you can tell that, like, some of the fights that I've seen, you can tell that she kind of gets burnt out, and she starts to her feet start looking like cement, and she kind of becomes an easy target, and if I think that if I think after a few rounds, maybe 2 or 3 rounds, I think that Mccaskill is going to come out strong and aggressive for the first minute of every round. And I think the second minute of each round, I think that's when Cameron is going to shine and outbox her. And I think she's going to catch her with some shots early on, but then, I think Cameron is going to get caught in some of the exchanges between the two. But I think if she takes advantage of Jessica slowing down, like in the second half of each round, and outboxes her and lands the cleaner shots, the more eye-catching shots, I think she's going to win and outscore some of those rounds. It was very hard for me to decide what to, how to go with this, because I think it depends on Cameron. I think she has the ability to win a decision. It really just depends on what she does and what approach she takes. If she gets caught into these exchanges with Jessica, she's definitely going to win or lose a decision, to me. But if she can box and move laterally and set those traps, right, score and move, and I know she's going to get caught in some exchanges, but, step in, throw your combos, and step back out. Don't stay in a pocket too long with uh Mccaskill. She's just better at fighting that way, that kind of fight. She always takes that approach. Go back to the Katie Taylor fight. Learn from that fight. Look at what Katie was able to do. Just stepping in and out of danger quickly, and moving laterally, setting the traps, and looking for opportunities to step in and throw the combinations and get out of danger. I think she wins the fight. All right. It's the odds are very close. I think Cameron is a very, very slight favorite, which I was actually surprised by. Because when I heard about this fight, I immediately thought, I thought that Mccaskill would edge it. But after seeing the film study, I think Cameron is going to pull off the win. I think Jessica is going to gas out, and I think Cameron is going to edge her on points. I can see it being controversial. I can see it being a draw. I can see it being a split decision. And I can also see Cameron getting dropped with a good shot. All right. But overall, I think I'm going to edge it for Cameron winning a close decision for this one. All right. This is an undisputed fight. So be sure to check that fight out on the Zone card later today. All right, so let's move on. Let's briefly speak on Bivol and Benavides. I did a breakdown the other day. Hopefully you guys checked it out. And look, I think Bivol is going to edge it out. From reading the comments, listen, I'm not sleeping on Zurdo at all. I think Zurdo has a great chance of winning. I think he is much stronger at 168. I think a lot of people. I've listened to some other channels do breakdowns. Like I watched the film study with Boxing Gyms. I listened to who else did I listen? I did listen to Punch Perfect breakdown and just a couple of channels. I think that was it. Really, I didn't go around too much, but I don't think people are sleeping on Zurdo. At least I know I'm not. I think Zurdo has a great chance of winning. It's just that from what I've seen at 168, even though he looks stronger to me, I think he has the size and the power, the durability, to do better than what Canelo was able to do. I think part of the problem with Canelo is that He couldn't land clean up top. You know, Bivol's defense was just superior. His IQ, him being a bigger guy, he knew how to deal with Canelo. You know, I think Zurdo could be more difficult. I don't think Zurdo is a better boxer by any means than Canelo. I think Canelo was setting up the better shots, but I think Zurdo and his power and his size and him being more of a natural light heavy, and he's even bigger than that. I mean, naturally he's walking around over 200, and I think he's going to come in over 200 the night of the fight. I think that he has a great chance of winning, but I think Bivol, his defense, his endurance, his boxing IQ is just far superior than Zurdo. And even though Zurdo has the size and the volume that I think could get Bivol some trouble, I think Bivol slows him down. I think he takes away a little of the confidence that Zurdo has had in his last fights at 175. If you want to see some of the holes that Zurdo has in his game, you really got to go back into his fights at 168, where I don't think he was as good, as experienced, and I thought he was a bit drained, But even with that being said, I still believe that Bivol has fought way better fighters at 175. He's a career light heavy, not a big light heavy, but he's a career light heavy. And fighting guys like Joe Smith Jr., who was a huge puncher, all right, and was able to outbox him, stopping guys like Sullivan Barrero. He's only had one loss. Dominating Canelo Alvarez to a decision win. He just got some quality wins. John Pascal, who's always been trouble for everybody. Even Kovalev in his prime had to rematch him. You know what I'm saying? I just think Bivol is better. I'm not sleeping on Zurdo. If Zurdo was the winner, and it'll be a nice upset. I said it in the breakdown. It would be a nice upset. Upsets every now and then are good for boxing. And Zurdo coming off of the win and beating a Bivol, beating a guy that excuse me, give me 1 second. Let me get some water. My bad. My throat's been bothering me all morning. So what was I saying? Yeah, overall, I just think that Bivol is more proven. He's definitely the better technical fighter. He's more proven. He's shown to have great endurance, great discipline, and very durable as well. We haven't seen him get dropped. We've seen him rocked a few times by Joe Smith, but he's recovered well, and I think he's going to weather the storm and beat Zurdo. And I haven't win him, but if he takes an L, wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world. All right. Jesus, my throat is bothering me. All right. All right. So let's just talk about some other boxing news going on before we get on out of here. All right. What else I got here? All right. So Eubank Jr. and Liam Smith, they're in talks of having a December 17th clash. It's not a bad matchup. Liam Smith recently moved up to 160. All right. Liam Smith is not a bad fighter. He's actually stopped and beaten Liam Williams, who Eubank just fought, who is one of Eubank's best wins in the past. So Liam Smith has been in there. He's been in there with Canelo. He's been in there with plenty of fighters. He's a very experienced guy. I have nothing against Liam Smith. He's a good fighter. He's tough. He's a good body puncher. He's a good inside mid-range fighter. All right. Not the greatest. He's not nearly as explosive as like Eubank, but he has solid power. Uh, he gives a good fight. I like him. He's a solid guy. I have no problems with him. He's a durable fighter. He's only been stopped by Canelo. He gave Jaime Munguia a good fight. Um, he has a couple debatable ones in there, but he's good. He's solid. But Eubank, and I said this about Bud the other day when it came to Avanesian. It's not that Avanesian is a bad fighter, right? He's not really a like a tune-up. In general, he's not a tune-up for welterweight, but for Bud, I feel like he's a tune-up because we already know what Bud can do against guys on this level. And I feel like Eubank, even though this is a solid fight, I feel like we know what Eubank can do at this level. I can't see Liam Smith beating Eubank. I could see him giving him good fight, but I can't see him beating Eubank. But Eubank is just trying to get back in the ring. With all of this mess with Conor Ben and that fight not happening, I have no problems with him just being active. At the end of the day, I will always say I'm all for fighters being active over just looking for that one fight they want and just waiting for it to come around. Conor Ben was supposed to happen. It's not a fight that I actually wanted, but I actually got excited for it just because of the trash talk and everything like that. But I didn't want to see Eubank fight any of like a welterweight or anything like that. I wanted Eubank to fight, an Andrade or a Jamal Charlo or a Gennady Golovkin, and hopefully we get that. But he wants to stay busy. Liam Smith is a solid opponent. And that's all it is. Hopefully he gets back with Roy Jones. I don't know what they're going to do with that. I know he wasn't going to go. I know Roy wasn't going to be in his corner for the Conor Ben fight. All right. So it's not a bad fight. It's a good fight. It's just a solid fight. All right. What's up, Arlette? How you doing? Yeah, I don't know why you get the YouTube notifications. I've been hearing that from years from subscribers about not getting notifications. To be honest, I don't know. I think maybe unsubscribe, resubscribe, hit the bell notification. I think maybe, that's the only way. All right. It made W. Jesus. I'm sorry. Give me a minute. Yeah, Eddie. I do. Yeah, this sick bug. I got it, and I know exactly who I got it for. I saw a friend that I didn't see in a long time, and she was sick, and I seen her. I gave her a kiss on the cheek, man, and it's just a greeting, and then I got sick. Like the next day, started feeling like that little cold or whatever. All right, but yeah, I'm good though. I'm all right. All right. So, what's the next topic? Or what was I reading? Oh, Andrade. I wouldn't be surprised if Andrade went to BLK Prime because I know he's not with Eddie anymore. I don't know who he's with, but I wouldn't be surprised if Andrade went over to the BLK Prime. I wouldn't be surprised if I heard it. I think we're gonna hear more names come up, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went over there. He's looking for money. And at this point, it's no really fights. There's no fights out there There's plenty of fights out there, but no one seems to be interested in fighting him at the end of the day. And now that he doesn't have a belt, you might as well just go where the bag is. At this point, you're in your mid-30s and you don't really have any options. You might as well go where the bag is. I personally believe, even though being with the Zone and being with Eddie, even though Eddie really couldn't secure the fights, even with the Zone fighters, I think he should have stayed with Eddie. I think he was still. I just don't think. I just don't think leaving Matchroom was a good idea. But I just think that look at just what happened with the Zach Parker fight. I just think he was just necking and being alone out there, and that's exactly what happened. You're not with Eddie anymore. The first Zach Parker fight fell through, but if you had Eddie in your corner, during the second time they tried to make the fight, you probably would have had the fight, and you probably would have got paid. But it was not a bidding war, it was no one else there that showed up to bid for the fight. And you got screwed there. Yeah. Andre moved up to 160 from 160. He was supposed to be fighting Janovic, Aleem Kanuli, right? And then instead of fighting him, he went up to WB. I'm sorry, he went up to the 168 to fight for the interim WBO title and against Zach Parker, and he got screwed with the bid. The purse was really, really low. It was like 300,000 or something like that, and of course he pulled out. He wasn't going to fight for that low amount of money, especially with the money he's been getting paid. It was no surprise there. Frank Warren won the bid. And Zach Parker is a Frank Warren fighter, and at the end of the day, Andre pulled out, and that's that. I don't know what he's doing, but he should holla at BLK Prime, because I could see him getting a decent amount of money for a fight without having to probably fight a top tier fighter, at the end of the day, and he needs to stay active at this point in his career. All right. So he was stripped from 160, moved up to 168, didn't get that fight, and now he's out without a title. He's not with a promoter. I don't know what's up. I don't know what he has options. So anyway, let's move on. Bivol, I forgot to say, Bivol said he's looking to fight for Undisputed. He's not really looking for a Canelo rematch. I just wanted to put that out there. I meant to bring that up, but he seems to not be interested. Not saying that he's never going to be interested, but hey, I wrote this in my notes here that he's looking to fight Better BF. I mean, that fight should have happened at least a couple years ago at this point, man. They've both been at the top of the game for years now. Yo, just make that fight already. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Young Hollywood? No, I won't be calling a fight later, man. I apologize. I won't be here today. But it is what it is. So Wilder and Joshua, I just want to briefly speak on this. I read a report that Eddie Hearn has been in contact with Wilder's people, and they might be trying to work on making a fight. I've listened to, I read some reports and some comments made like Malik Scott and even Wilder himself. He's been more on a positive end with Anthony Joshua. He's been on a more positive end in general as far as his interviews. Not really the same type of energy that he's had in the past. And I think that has a lot to do with maturity and experience and also taking the losses to Fury, kind of getting humbled. Same thing with Anthony Joshua, taking the losses and being more willing to, have matches with people. So I believe, and I've said this in other videos, I do believe that Wilder and Joshua will happen. I've never completely lost hope with that fight. I think the fact that they both have 2 losses, I think, I'm sorry, Joshua has 3 losses now. I think they're more willing to have the fight now. I think the chances are better now than they were before. All right. So I hope we get the fight. I read a report that Malik Scott and Wilder is more interested in a Joshua fight or Usyk fight than they are with Andy Ruiz. All right, but I think the Andy Ruiz is going to happen. I've always believed that fight was going to happen because Andy Ruiz is a PBC fighter. It's going to be a pay-per-view fight, and it would be a WBC final elite eliminator. The WBC is going to order the fight if they haven't already. All right, so I think the fight is going to happen. I know they both lost. Wilder lost to Fury twice. Joshua losing to Usyk twice. One thing for me, I was still very impressed with what Joshua was able to do against Usyk in that rematch. Even in defeat, Usyk clearly won. Joshua did much better, looked much better in that rematch. I hope he goes back to Robert Garcia. I thought he looked like an improved fighter in that rematch, especially in the earlier rounds. I like the way he looked in that fight. Same thing with Wilder. I know he lost to Fury, and I didn't like the extra weight that he put on in the third fight, but he was still able to drop Fury twice in that third fight. I know he looked extremely light again. He cut a lot of weight fighting Hellenius, stopped him in the first round. Some people say it was a dive or whatever. But look, I think Wilder is exactly what he needs to be right now. I think he needs to be light. I know Fury weighed a lot and put his weight on him and stuff and burned him out. And I get that, but I thought it was a mistake for him to pack all those pounds. I think he needs to be quick. Think he needs to bounce on his toes and move, have that movement, use the ring, use the perimeter of the ring, and just look for opportunities to set up the right hand. I think they both are still very, very good. And I think the fight still means a lot to us fans. And I think it will happen in 2023. I believe it. I think the both of them, or I think if AJ, I think Wilder is going to fight Andy Ruiz, and I think that AJ is going to fight somebody. And I seen him I seen a report where he said he's good. He's cool with fighting Dillian White for a rematch. He's cool with fighting, what are the other names he put out there? Otto Wallin. He's good with fighting, what's the other name? He said Philip Hergovich. All right, so all good fights, but Joshua probably gonna have another fight before fighting Wilder. Wilder probably fights Andy Ruiz first, and maybe by the end of the year or late summer, maybe we get Joshua and Wilder finally. All right, Charles Edward Cheese, man, thank you, my brother. I'm not going to be drinking today. He says, morning wave, sir. Glorious day for boxing in the morning community. What we drink. I'm not going to be drinking later because I won't be doing the commentary. But thank you for the donation. I'm probably going to be having my coffee in a little bit. I didn't make it this morning. I feel like, I don't know if it's me, but I feel like coffee, I think I just be drinking it. You guys feel that about, like, or you coffee drinkers that's in the comments? Do you guys feel like you drink coffee because it actually wakes you up, or you just drink coffee because you like drinking coffee? I be thinking about that. I'm like, sometimes I drink coffee and I'm like, I don't even know why I drink this stuff. Like I drink it and I'm just drinking it. Like I like it, but it's not really waking me up. And then if the coffee is too strong, it gives me the jitters. If I get my coffee, like I drink my coffee black most of the time, right? Sometimes I'll drop a little bit of creamer in it, but I drink it black most of the time. I add a couple sugars, and it'll just give me like the jitters sometimes because I want it to be strong. But if I have it with too much cream, I think it tastes much better, but it doesn't really do anything for me, I don't know how we just drifted off this whole conversation about coffee, but I'm like that obviously on here. I just like drift off into just different discussions. Charles, thank you again for the super donation. I appreciate it. Leonard says Hearn emailed Finkel in August saying he had a bat for Wilder for fights. Finkel confirmed email. Hearn said this week got reply from Finkel. They're interested. Yeah, and that's exactly what I read. And I know in the past he hasn't got responses. At least that's what he said. Yeah, yo, I hope it's time, man. Like, yo, let's be real, man. Let's like, I said this about Bud and Spence. You know, people get mad and shit, but if you get out of your emotions, and listen, a lot of us disagree on that fight on whose fault. But I think we can all agree, right, that the three parties or the three people that's mainly involved with this, Al, Spence, and Crawford, can we all agree that the guys should just all meet up and like make the fight happen? Like, you know, the two of you are, you know, people like to talk about how big the fight is and how pay-per-view sells and this, that, and the third. But I think the two of them are big enough to at least agree to meet, right? They respect each other. They know each other, you know, meet each other, meet with Al. I know Al doesn't like to come outside, but meet with Al and like, yo, put it together. And I feel this way about this fight with Wilder and Joshua. I'm like, yo, you two, people love you two. You know what I'm saying? People hate you two as well, but that makes for a top fight. Meet with each other, bring your promoters, bring your representatives, your lawyers, go in a room, shake hands, like, yo, let's get this shit going. We can make a lot of money. It still may be $100 million fight. It might be. I don't know if it is at this point, but depending on where they have it, just make the fight, man. Like, yo, you guys, you know, you did what you did. You had your runs. AJ had his 3 belts. Wilder had his belt. You had you defended it 10 times. AJ became, you know, unified. You guys had great pay-per-views. You had, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, everybody knows you two at this point. At this point, make the fight. Like, meet up. That's it. Use a lot of money in the fight. It shouldn't be that difficult, you know? Chris Andre says, I think when it comes to Wilder's weight, it depends on the opponent. Fury is a guy that uses his body to break your construct and get you off balance. So he needed some mass. With AJ, though, Wilder has to be trimmed. I agree with you, and I've thought about this, and this is a great comment from a good boxing channel, by the way, Chris Andre Boxing. So please subscribe to him. What I will say to that is that, look, I agree with you to a certain extent because I think Fury coming in as heavy as he did in that rematch, I don't think Wilder was really prepared for it, you know? And I don't think he trained to really deal with that because it never happened before. So going to the third fight, yes, it made him a bit more durable, right? But he lost his speed. And when it comes to Fury, it's like, listen, Wilder would have probably lost regardless, right? But you can also make an argument. I'm going to make the argument here. If Wilder came in light again, right, and basically focused on speed and movement, right, and endurance, I think that if he kept his back off the ropes and use that power, landed the shots, I think that Fury coming in heavier, just don't think he's as slick. You know, I don't think he's as elusive. He caught more shots. You know, he was easier to target than he was in the first fight. I think the first fight and fights like the Klitschko fight, you know, the second Chisora fight, like around that time, I think those were the hardest fights to really land on Fury. because he was so slick. You know what I'm saying? He was able to avoid a lot of the shots. But him coming heavier and him just being a tank, yeah, he rolled a lot of punches and stuff. But I think if Wilder came in light again, but was expecting Fury to try to just walk him down, it's a give and take. Like, yes, Wilder wouldn't be as durable, right? Wilder wouldn't be able to deal with Fury leaning on him and stuff like that. But Wilder would have been quicker, and I think he would have been better offensively, all right, and better defensively as well. Wilder came out in that third fight throwing a lot of jabs. And I noticed, like, right after that first round, I noticed that Wilder started to burn out and he just became stationary. He started having that cement feet where he's a fighter that needs to be quick. We know he only has like a big right hand and everything, but he knows how to use it and time it. And when you're so heavy, I think that take away from his offense, So we got 3 fights. And I think if they were to ever fight for a 4th time, because you can't even sleep on that anymore. You really just never know. If Fury's gonna fight Chisora for a 3rd time, I believe that Wilder and Fury fighting for a 4th is not really that surprising if that were to ever happen, especially if Wilder beats Ruiz and becomes the mandatory for the WBC again. We don't know where Fury is going to be. We don't know if he's going to fight Usyk. We don't know if he's going to fight AJ. We don't know. So with that being said, I think if Wilder ever got the opportunity to fight Tyson Fury for a 4th time, I believe that Wilder will not be heavy like he was. So we say that he should have been heavy, but I don't believe he will come in heavy if they have a 4th fight. I think he's going to go in that 4th fight wanting to be quick, and he's going to learn to not, just to move his feet, right, and not just let this guy lean on him. You'll never know, but I get your point, and I do agree with you to a certain extent. But I think Wilder overall should definitely be lighter, and quicker. All right, get those shots off really quickly. All right. Yeah, there is clearly a misunderstanding between Bud and Errol, and I think it has to do with the 3rd man involved. Because look, it's crazy. Bud was just basically saying, like, yo, me and Errol have conversations, and he's going back and forth, trying to be middleman and all of that. Well, I feel like, yeah, it's the communication is different between him and Al and him and Errol. But I don't want to get into that. I already spoke on that enough. And shout out to Punch Perfect Boxing. I did a video with him the other day. It's up on his channel. All right, Punch Perfect. Me and him did an entire video talking about the welterweight division and Errol and Spence. Errol and Bud. I'm sorry, I do that all the time. Errol and Spence, or Bud and Crawford. I do that all the time on here. I don't know if you guys notice. All right. So anyway, I think I addressed everything today, and I won't be here later this evening, but I will give you a review probably really, really late this evening. All right, on all of the fights. All right, it's probably going to be extremely late. If not, I'll have one out by tomorrow. All right, and listen, if you are new, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, please hit that thumbs up for me. Share the video if you can on your social media. Hit me on my Twitter. Hit me on my Twitter. And hit me on the Instagram. A lot of people send me DMs on Instagram. I don't post really like that on Instagram, but a lot of people follow me or just to send me private messages. I do respond to the messages. And Twitter, you can easily find me. I actually tweet all the time now, So yeah. Let me read a couple comments. MAW said Punch Perfect is clued up too. Yeah, he's a good channel. He's a good channel. Charles Anita had a guarantee. So to me, it was backed on the split, claiming you got 50 million. Cool, but what does it mean if you take up that upfront money? You put a sell on yourself on the back end. Yeah, but I mean, how much money are they gonna make really off the pay-per-views? You know, I mean, just the way that just listening to the conversation, like, yo, they're both agreeing, like, yo, everybody finds a link to the fight and they stream the fights. You know, they're not gonna pay for the pay-per-views. Everybody's streaming. So if everything is gonna be based on the back end, and you can't at least determine what the back end will be, you know, at least provide some kind of upfront money so we can know we're at least getting this plus a back end. You know, when you're just giving a percentage and nothing more, you don't know what you're going to get, and everything is going to be based on the performance of the numbers, you know. Whereas there's other fights where people get a guarantee plus they make a little bit more off the back end with the pay-per-view and stuff like that. You know, everybody looks at it differently. Especially with all these rumors about the PBC and what people are saying about the money, Showtime merging with Paramount, all of this stuff. If there's any truth to all of that, then the money might really not be there, you know? I personally believe the fighters should get paid more. All right, but we'll see. Sonny says, out disrespecting Errol's dream of strap season. In my opinion, just give something reasonable. Nothing else. Yeah, I mean, again, I agree with a lot of what your comments are saying. You know, I think the both of them are better than what they were offered, in my opinion. All right, I think they're both better than what they were offered. There was nothing about that contract that I said that was like great. You know, sign the fight. You know, and recently the pay-per-views just haven't been good for anybody. You know, they just haven't been. They haven't been. You know, I think this particular fight, the pay-per-views will do well, but you know, how well? You know, I think this is the boxing hardcore fans, one of the best fights that could be made for the boxing hardcore fans. But for the casual fans, are people going to really buy it? You know, I mean, Errol said himself, I mean, according to Bud, he said, yo, I got a fire stick too. You know, like everybody streams. You know, I stream when I'm not interested in a fight and I'm not covering it live, you know. Or sometimes I stream because I'm not going to be home to watch it, you know, but I try to support now. I mean, I don't want pay-per-views to still be around. You know, I've boycotted pay-per-views and stuff like that, but um if I support the fighter, you know, I support the fight. You know, I want to support the fighter. You know, Clarissa Shields had her pay-per-views. I supported. I knew the numbers wouldn't do well, but I supported her because I was supporting her, you know. And you're fair. You know what? You're entitled to do whatever you want with your money. Again, you know, if you want to support pay-per-views across the board, you can do it. If you want to support pay-per-views from a specific fighter or a specific network, that's on you. You know. Yeah, I agree. I think relying strictly on pay-per-views is kneecapping yourself. Yes. Yeah. You know. Anyway, I'm out of here, man. Y'all have a good day. I'll see you guys on the next one. Again, follow me on everything, social media and all that stuff. And share the video if you can. And I'm out. Y'all have a good day. Peace.